everybody, welcome to our podcast. I am Kristen Stampini. Today we have actually my CPA. We have Mike Huckins here, and Mike is a Boca Raton-based accountant with more than 17 years of experience.
So two of the real common big loans, especially for small businesses, is what we're servicing in the area, is your PPP loan, which is your payroll protection or your paycheck protection program, or your EIDL loan, which is the EIDL loan. Okay. The biggest difference in the two is the PPP loan does offer full, basically a grant for the full amount, as long as you use at least 75% of that for payroll. There is a calculation. It's based upon your average payroll from the prior last year of 2.5 months. So if you're a business owner and you're in need of money, it is a great program for you, because as long as you're using it for payroll, or at least 75% of it, you will not have to pay it back.
Hey everybody, welcome to our podcast, The Stamp of Approval. And I am Kristen Stampini. We have several small businesses. We started our virtual assistant business to help small business owners through virtual assistants in 2017. We also are real estate. We have a real estate team. We also have a real estate brokerage, and I am a real estate coach. So we have definitely all the different businesses. Today we have actually my CPA, who's been our CPA since, 17 years?
Yes.
So
long time.
17 years. We have Mike Huckins here, and Mike is a Boca Raton-based accountant with more than 17 years of experience, specializing in accounting and taxes for individuals and businesses. He has been certified public accountant CPA since 2006 and owned his practice for more than a decade. So Mike works with a variety of small and mid-sized businesses, including law firms, medical practices, dentists, real estate agents and developers, property managers. He also prepares personal tax returns for business owners, families, and individuals. So we're going to go over all sorts of things today that, a lot of you are wondering what's happening. Where's my money? What am I eligible for? What can I do as a small business owner? So we're going to go over the SBA loans. We're going to go over the PPP. We're going to go over everything that you can think about, and feel free to ask any questions along the way. So welcome, Mike.
Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So why don't we start with what most people are or a lot of people are asking you, right? So, and that's the PPP loans. Okay. So go ahead and tell us what's going on with that. Because I know, and also things are changing daily, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, things got so rushed in order to try to prepare this package within 8 days, 880 pages, that they obviously didn't think about every scenario. And so what happens is, over the last couple of weeks, things have been changing in real time daily. So if you literally watched a video last week on what you were eligible for, it probably now has changed this week. So two of the real common big loans, especially for small businesses, is what we're servicing in the area, is your PPP loan, which is your payroll protection or your paycheck protection program, or your EIDL loan, which is the EIDL loan. Okay. The biggest difference in the two is the PPP loan does offer full, basically a grant for the full amount, as long as you use at least 75% of that for payroll. There is a calculation. It's based upon your average payroll from the prior last year of 2.5 months. So if you're a business owner and you're in need of money, it is a great program for you, because as long as you're using it for payroll, or at least 75% of it, you will not have to pay it back. So it's been a pretty big plus, and that's pretty much what most small businesses are applying for, assuming your business has been impacted by the virus.
Okay, so are you seeing people actually getting the money for that?
Yeah, so we've filed dozens, probably at least in the excess of at least 50 applications now for business clients. And within actually Paradise Bank, there's a little shout out for them. They actually got my client money, $136,000 in 4 days after we applied. And the reason we think that is they're a small bank. They did the underwriting internally themselves. So the smaller banks that we see that are doing their own underwriting internally, because they are smaller, people are getting the money faster, and the bigger banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they're getting tied up in the system. We haven't had any clients as of today get their money yet.
Yeah, because we have Chase, right? And we have that same.
Yeah, the big banks, yeah.
Okay, and they haven't even emailed us and asked us additional questions or anything. I've even heard nothing.
I mean, Bank of America's been really good. Most of my clients that filed already, probably within 3 or 4 days, Bank of America has been responding, and I know a couple other banks have as well, responding back with supporting documentation. You know, the first stage was just to submit your application. It's a very quick application if you're applying for the PPP loan. And then what they're doing is in the back end, they're now asking 3-4 days later, they're now requiring you to log into their Intralink system, create a password, and upload your payroll records. Now, some banks are a lot easier and some banks are a lot more involved.
Okay, so I heard something about PayPal yesterday. Can you go in and apply through PayPal? Have you heard that?
Well, I don't know with PayPal, but basically they want you to have a relationship, right? See what happens is, like with Bank of America, you have to have a business relationship with your bank, okay, with the bigger bank. And Bank of America took it a step further and they said, hey, you have to have a business relationship or bank account, and you either have to have a business credit card or a business loan. So that was obviously, people were super upset about it. Bank of America over the last weekend, they actually removed that restriction. Then they added it back because they've taken in so many loans. But the smaller institutions, they're routing people to some of the smaller places like your credit card companies, and PayPal may be one of them. We haven't had any client apply through them, but basically, yeah, you can apply to some of the companies where you have business relationships with.
Oh, interesting. Because I heard yesterday, and I saw it like 3 different times, where people are going through PayPal and they've gotten their money in 3 days.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I just saw that yesterday. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
like I said, things are changing every day. So yeah, I saw that with Bank of America, I saw somebody and he got denied because he didn't have a credit card through Bank of America, which I thought was crazy.
Well, it's silly that they're going to now route their customers to another bank to then start a banking relationship with another bank. It doesn't make any sense, but they've received 227,000 applications and they're just so inundated, they're forced to do that.
Wow. Okay.
They
And
want
have
to
you
get the
heard
loans
that
out
with the other banks, or is that just with Bank of America?
No, like Wells Fargo, they hit their cap and they closed its system pretty early after 3 days of when it opened, not the last Friday, the Friday before last, on the 3rd of April. And so what happened is, Wells Fargo, after the first 3 days, they stopped accepting applications because they hit their limit of 10 billion. But I know the government was working with them to try to expand that, because most people, a lot of people are using Wells Fargo. They don't want them to be turned away. So they're supposed to be expanding that.
So you have to go through your own bank then to get this?
Yeah, because you do need a bank account, you need login information, and you need a bank account with that bank so that they can deposit the money. The money will be directly deposited into your bank account.
So what information, so are they still accepting applications?
Yeah, so the program is available until June 30th, okay? They obviously will tell you, most people that you're here will say filed now, because the program is going to run out of money. It's a $350 billion program, and that's why Congress right now, or the administration, is trying to expand it by another $250 billion, because they realize that the program will not last that long. But basically, it was supposed to be eligible and should be available until June 30th. That's what they originally said.
Okay, so who can apply for it?
So here's one of the issues that I think a lot of taxpayers, a lot of small business owners are not quite understanding. So I want to be clear about this, right? So your S corporation, small businesses, 500 or less employees can apply, and also sole proprietors and independent contractors. And the confusion is this: let's say you're a realtor, okay, and you're working for a brokerage, and you have an S corporation, and you get a 1099 for $100,000. The confusion is people think, these agents believe that just because we received a 1099 from the brokerage and put it in their S corporation, that makes them an independent contractor. That is not true, okay? If you have an S corporation and you receive a 1099 from your brokerage and you or any other source, and you deposit that 1099 money into your business, you are a business with less than 500 employees. You're not an independent contractor. So don't file as one, because that will obviously cause delays. So that was one big misconception. The other is this: the reason most people use S corporations is so that they can take distributions and avoid paying they can obviously take more in distributions, less in payroll, thereby reducing their payroll taxes, okay? Versus if you're self-employed, you have to pay payroll taxes on 100% of your income. So a lot of these people that formed S corporations to try to take advantage of that loophole and were taking very low salaries are going to really pay the price under this program, because the loan is calculated based upon your W-2 wages. It's not, you do not include your K-1 income. Okay? That's very important for people to understand, is that when they're asking you for your income to determine the monthly average, you do not include your K-1 income. It's strictly your W-2 source income. So the S corporation owners that decided to take very low payroll in the previous years, they will be hurt by this program, because they're not going to have a high average monthly payroll.
Yeah, so you have to have payroll.
Have to have W-2, correct.
Okay.
If you're a business, if you're an independent contractor, you have to have Schedule C income. So another point to that is if you received, $50,000 1099 and you filed your personal tax return and you decided to wipe out most of that income with expenses, then you're also not going to be eligible for a decent amount of that program, because it's based upon your net income after expenses. So if you haven't filed your return for 19 or even 18 and you wanted to file, it's going to be in your best interest in that scenario to try to keep your expenses low if you want to qualify for that program.
Okay. And how are people getting denied? So what would you be getting denied for?
So we haven't seen anybody get denied through the system yet, right? Because anybody can really apply. It really covers all facets of every business, right? Except for people that have more than 500 employees. So you can apply. We haven't received anybody that actually is denied yet. But the issue that's going to be held up in the system is the inconsistency in your documentation, right? If you've calculated your payroll for what you believe the calculation should be, and then you provide them with your payroll records and they calculate something different, that may hold up the system, or it may affect, at some point in the chain, it may affect your give back. So that's not that anybody's been denied, but the problem is it's very unclear at this point, because most of the people have not received their money. It's very unclear at this point how they're going to now, once they're receiving these payroll records from clients and they're trying to match it up with the applications that were originally filed, whether that's going to delay the process or whether they're going to push the loans through, because the intent is to try to get the money to taxpayers as quick as possible, not to sit and spend a couple months into underwriting. So we don't really know what the denial process is going to be yet.
Okay. And then also employees have to be working to get this.
Yeah, their businesses, correct. Yeah, and if you're going to apply for your staff, what some people are doing, they may be furloughing their workers or terminating their employees. But as long as once you apply for those funds and you take receipt of the PPP money, you're going to have to rehire your staff, because at least 75% of those funds have to be used for payroll. Now, I want to be clear about something, okay? Remember, the calculation is based upon 2.5 month average, but the payback is based upon 8 weeks. So people have got to understand, based upon the calculation, if you're receiving an amount based upon a 2.5 month average and you only have 2 months to repay it, you're almost losing 20% of that money right there, based upon the 10 weeks versus the 8 weeks payback. So it's our recommendation that you really just use it for payroll, so you're not caught up in that small percentage to where you're, you can use it for utilities and stuff, but you don't want to get caught up in that small percentage where you're going to have to pay it back.
Okay. So if I have is it okay that I have employees laid off right now because I can't afford?
Yeah. So as long as you hire them back, as long as by the time you receive the funds, the rule states is that you must use, once you receive the funds, you have 8 weeks to use those funds to determine what the payback is. So you'd have to hire your workers. It's probably in your best interest to hire your workers back before you get the funds, which nobody knows when that's going to be. But if you really want to take advantage of not paying any of that money back, you better have those workers on payroll when you get the money.
Okay, so it's okay, because I know that people have thought, oh my gosh, I can't apply if I don't have employees working for me, but that's not true.
Right. As long as you have them back, though, they need to be working back for you when you get the money. Otherwise, you're going to end up paying a portion of that loan back.
And you have to spend the money in 60 days.
You have 8. Yeah, exactly. You have 8 weeks, the 60 days.
Okay,
Yep.
To spend the money, and at least 75% has to go on payroll to not have to pay it back, correct?
Yep. And remember, you're losing the 2 weeks off the 10-week average versus the 8 weeks payback. You're already losing a good percentage of that money right there. So you really should just try to focus on using it all for payroll, and anything left, you can obviously use it for utilities, rent, and mortgage interest.
Okay, so 100% really you want to use for payroll for those 60 days if you can.
If you can.
because you don't
It's
want.
not going to quite come out to that way because you can't give raises. You know, you can't start giving raises to your staff. But I would just use as much as you can for payroll, and the rest you can try to use for utilities.
Okay, awesome. So now I want to go into SBA, and can I also, while I'm talking about this, can I get SBA and PPP?
Yeah, you can apply it, but you can't use the funds for the same source. So let me tell you something important that we just found out. Okay, everybody heard a week ago that you can run out and apply it for the EIDL loan, the EIDL loan, and get $10,000 free money. Okay, that's not true as of today. Okay, what changed, and is a very big change, is they're only giving you $1,000 per employee. Okay, so if you think you're getting, so the reason that's also important, when people were running the calculations, listen, when we were running the calculations 2 weeks ago, and we had a taxpayer that had very little payroll in the prior year, let's say they only had $20,000 in payroll, and their PPP calculation came out to, $4,000, let's say. Back then, we would say, hey, it would be in your best interest to go for the EIDL loan and get the free $10,000 because it's more than what you're going to get for the PPP. But guess what? Now that this rule has changed and they're only giving $1,000 per employee, it's now in your best interest to apply or to have gotten the PPP loan. So you got to be careful. Everybody thought they were getting $10,000 and they're not. It's $1,000 per employee. That's a big difference.
Yesterday, because people started receiving their money. And so you can or you can't get both PPP.
You can get both. They can't be used for the same source. So, and they also, and the thing is when they calculate the forgive back, that will be calculated to determine whether you're going to have to pay that back, or a piece of it back. So that's going to be a calculation that they're now going to have to work on when the money's received. And that's going to change. Listen, just like this stuff is changing in real time, that's going to change too. I mean, it's going to happen because of the way this program is rushed.
Well, exactly. Things are changing daily. You just got to make sure that that you're working or talking to a professional, that what they're telling you is correct.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. A lot of small business owners are trying to do it on their own with their banks, right? Because it's natural that they're obviously not going to want to pay a firm to have them assist in that process. It's only natural, right? But oftentimes it's going to, penny wise, dollar foolish. If you go down that road and you don't have and the banker doesn't have the proper information, they don't understand your scenario, it can cost you pretty big in the long run if you're not willing to just pay to have a professional look over things before you start applying for these programs.
And what is that usually like? If somebody came to you, can you give me a range of how much that would cost somebody?
It depends. I mean, if it's an existing client, it would depend versus if it's an existing client or a new client. I think probably a couple hours with a professional, because here's what we're finding. It doesn't really take long for the initial process. I mean, it really shouldn't take more than an hour. But the problem is that 4 days later, when they start asking for all this documentation, taxpayers are needing the help with that. And then when you're going to try to calculate your loan forgiveness, who knows what that final calculation is going to look like, or what worksheets that the banks are going to want to have, and what documentation they're going to need to cover their butt. So you really don't know what the full cost is going to be, but it shouldn't really be more than a couple hours.
So a few $100.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I really see out there a lot is 1099. Can they file for unemployment? Because that's a big one, right? Especially in real estate.
Yeah. That is a big one, and that's where you're going to want to. They definitely should be able to apply for unemployment. But the thing is this: you're going to want to look in that particular scenario to see what's going to be the best bang for your buck, right? Because bottom line is that if you're eligible to apply for the PPP loan, and that's going to warrant you, X dollars, which may be more than what you're going to collect in unemployment versus the time that you are considered unemployed, right? It's kind of hard to determine, are you truly unemployed or not, right? If you're still out there working or trying to grow your business, it's a really fine line that you're kind of, walking on. So you do need to do some calculation to determine what's going to be in your best interest.
Okay, so are there any other programs out there for independent contractors?
Not really independent contractors. I mean, there's other programs in the provision that, are helping people. Not necessarily with independent contractors. I mean, the biggest thing is the issue between them taking payroll or not. And the one thing that's coming up now for people who have applied for the PPP, one thing that you're going to realize is they're now asking for 2020 payroll data, right? From January 1st through February 15th. So if you're a taxpayer that has not commonly taken payroll for the first couple quarters of the year, you're going to want to be careful. If you're a business owner and you don't take payroll until the fourth quarter, or you don't take payroll until the third quarter, you're going to want to be careful, because if they're going to try to calculate your payback, and they're going to say, hey, what were you paying yourself prior to the the virus when it happened on February 15th, and you had zero, and you're now trying to pay yourself an average wage based on the prior year. The question that we're having, and we really don't know the answer, is whether they're going to now make it pay back because you didn't have any payroll for the first few months. So with our business clients, we are recommending that they take payroll in the first couple months, even though in the prior years they may have only taken a year-end bonus or payroll in the second half of the year, because you want to be protected on that give back, so you don't have to pay taxes, or so you don't have to pay it back. Okay.
What now is the SBA forgivable loan is the same as the SBA emergency grant?
Right. So here's the deal on the EIDL loan, on the emergency loan, right? And here's the reason why that may need to be used over the PPP loan. If you have a business owner that has a lot of operating expenses and they really, truly do need the loan, right? You have a lot of people out there that want the free money, but you have businesses that truly do need the resources to keep their businesses alive, okay? That's what the EIDL loan is good for, because you can get up to $10 million on that, or $2 million on that program. You have a year of deferment, and you have up to 30 years to pay it back at an interest rate of 3.75, okay? So that does help business owners. So listen, everybody does want the free money, but if your business is in need of additional resources and you need more money than what the Paycheck Protection Program is going to give you, then you're going to want to go down that road.
So Marcus Lemonis was on Instagram yesterday, and he goes on live and talks to business owners. And last night, before The Profit, before it came on, the new episode, he was talking to business owners, and one of them, she had gotten it, and she received actually money a couple days ago. She received $250,000 for her business, and it was 3.75 interest rate, deferred for a year, so she didn't have to start paying it back for a year, and it's a 30-year loan. So she did get the money already. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That happened fast, because we haven't heard. We think that program is going to take a long time. Definitely weeks, if not a month or so, because of the underwriting process and because how busy they're inundated like anybody else. So, and there's a lot more to review there. That you do have to provide financial statement information, such as your gross sales, your cost of goods sold. So that's a bigger process for them to calculate that loan. And the other unknown in that particular program is you don't know what you're going to get. At least with the PPP, you can do the calculation and know what you're going to get, versus the EIDL loan, you do not know what you're going to get. So it leaves people wondering, hey, how much are they going to really get out there?
And I thought it was interesting, because she was in the red already, okay, with her business. So they gave her that. And then, Marcus, which I thought was good, is like, okay, wait before you spend all the money. Because she had a bunch of credit cards, and she was trying to pay all the credit cards off, because she had, that she borrowed against her business, right? So anyways, and he's like, oh, just the high ones. Don't spend all that right now. Let's, put a plan together. So if you are,
it's a great idea. Listen, it's a great idea for a business owner if they can go down that road and get that loan, and they do have high credit, if they have high credit card balances that have high interest rates, hey, it's a great program to be able to pay some of those high credit card balances off and reduce your interest rate to 3.75 and now have 30 years to pay it back. So, you're going to get people that are going to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. How about recovery rebates? So, also the, what's it called? Everybody gets as long as they make,
the $1,200 and the $2,400, the stimulus.
Yeah. The stimulus.
Okay.
So people started getting that.
Yes, people just started getting that. Actually, that actually started hitting people's. Yeah, that started hitting people's account. Let me be clear about. I want to be clear about something on that. This is some information that people need to understand. It's really based upon your 2020 income, right? Which has not been filed yet. So they are going to be, if you haven't, it's really based upon the current year, right? Is where the impact is happening. But they're going to use your 2018 tax return if you haven't filed your 2019, and they're going to use your 19 return if you filed your 2019. But I want to be clear about something. if you're a single taxpayer and you've made $110,000, you wouldn't be eligible because the threshold's 75,000. Okay, you basically become limited at anything over 75,000. But if in 2019 you filed a tax return and you were ineligible because your income was 110,000, but in 2020 you file your tax return and your income drops to 60, you are going to get that check with your 2020 tax return. Okay, so it's not gone. If you're not getting it now, if you have been impacted by the virus, you will get it later. On the opposite of that, if you receive the money because your income was low in 2019, but all of a sudden you file your 2020 tax return and it's higher than the threshold and you're not allowed it, they will not make you pay it back.
They won't?
Pretty good. They will not make you pay it back.
Wow. That's awesome. So
yeah,
they're giving you the benefit either way.
Exactly.
And then, so I thought it was 99,000.
Well, it's 75. Starts at 75. The phase out's up to 99. And the same thing with 150 unmarried taxpayers, and it phases out up to 190 or 198 or something like that. But so it's a one. It starts
depending.
Yeah, it gets reduced. Now, here's another thing I want to be clear about. People think that if you have, because your dependents, you get an extra $500. Okay. Now, everybody, and I hear on videos people saying that, oh, if you have a kid in school and there's your dependent, you're going to get 500. No, the child has to be under the age of 17 to get the 500. Okay, so if you have a child in college.
Under the age of 17, so you can't even.
Under the age of 17.
So it's up to 16. So even if you're living at home, obviously, and they're 17.
19 or 18, under the age 17.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, that's the same threshold where you get the $2,000 tax credit now. It goes to 500 if you're over 17 or older, but they use the same threshold of under 17 that you're getting the $2,000 on the normal Trump cuts, and now you're getting the 500 extra under this plan.
Okay, so how much do I get if I make the 75,000 or up to 100?
So if you make 75,000 and you have a couple kids under, you're going to get the 1,200. If you're entitled to the full amount as a single taxpayer, you're going to get 1,200 plus 500 per eligible child. And if you're married, you're going to get double, $2,400 plus $500 per eligible child.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Yep. And people are starting to get that. The last couple of days, right?
Yep. And you can go online. There's a website. If you go to the irs.gov website and you hit on stimulus, there's a spot there where you can add your banking information. I mean, the checks are probably going to be close to probably in the mail. They may have added a time on there, like if you were to rush on there, because a lot of people who filed their tax returns may not have had their banking information on there. And if you don't have your banking information, they will send you a check. It's just going to take longer. But you can go to the irs.gov and look up under stimulus, and there's a link there to where you can put some of your financial information there and update it. You just may not be in time now. Who knows when they cut off.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, this is April 15th, 2020, because I know things, people are going to watch this and things change daily right now.
Yeah.
Right?
No, they really do.
No, that's why I wanted to put the date out there. Okay. So how about the withdrawal of retirement penalty?
Okay. So the IRS is allowing you to withdraw up to $100,000 from your retirement. Okay. It's not tax-free. Let's be clear about that. I've heard several videos where people say, oh, this is tax-free. You can take money from retirement. You still have to pay the taxes on it. The only difference is you do not have to pay the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Okay. Normally, if you're not 59 and a half and you withdraw money from your retirement account, let's say you're 58, and you withdraw funds from your retirement account, you have to pay federal income taxes on that withdrawal plus a 10% penalty. Under this new provision here in the stimulus plan, you don't have to pay the 10% penalty. And you have a 3-year payback, so you can actually put the funds back in the account any way you want within 3 years to actually refund the account without having to do your normal contribution that you're limited to every year under normal pension plans. Like a 401k, you're only limited to $19,000 a year. They'll allow you to actually fund it any way you want to get the money back in there when you're ready, if you're ready.
Okay, what happens if you don't want to put it back in there?
Then you just get the 10%. Then you don't have to. You just don't have to pay the penalty. You're paying the income tax on the withdrawal. You just don't have to pay the penalty.
Okay, but so it's like I'm taking it out at 59 and a half.
Exactly.
Okay, so how about if I'm okay right now, but I foresee possibly that I want to take advantage of that. What about people that do you recommend that? Like for somebody like me, is it even, because now I can take that 100,000 and I can use it, to do other things. Is that
so here's the deal what I would be careful of, okay? The market has gotten crushed recently, right? We've had quite a bit of a rebound here, right? We're off the bottom to where it was. Now is probably not a good time to take any money out of a retirement account if you can help it, because I guarantee your retirement account is down 20 or 30% on the year, depending on what stocks or equities you're in. But first of all, I wouldn't suggest going to just withdrawal to take advantage of the 10% penalty, because you do, and this is why planning is important. You need to look to see, hey, how much are you down on the year in your retirement account? And remember, this is tax-free money that gets deferred. So, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you need the money, because you don't want to just take it out just to take it out because you don't have to pay the 10% penalty, because you can be down significantly and the market's obviously going to rebound. We don't know when. It has rebounded a lot already, but the market's still down quite a bit. So I wouldn't rush out doing it just to protect yourself unless you're really going to need it.
Okay.
You have a little time. I think you have until the end of the year on that program to be able to still pull that out.
Oh, wow. But who knows, that might change too, right?
Exactly.
How about what is defer payroll taxes?
Okay, this gets a little more complex, the employee tension rate credit and the deferred payroll tax, okay? That definitely gets, so what they're saying is this. If you need the money, you can defer, right? When you pay your employee, okay, you're withholding 7.65% from the employee's check for Social Security and Medicare, okay? And as the employer, you are required to match that same 7.65% obligation. Out of that 7.65%, 6.2 of that is Social Security taxes that the employer is paying. So when they're referring to that deferment, you don't have to pay the 6.2% deferment, the match of the Social Security you can actually avoid paying right now to try to reduce your payroll tax obligation. And then you can pay half of it back in 2021 and half of it back in 2022. Now, that type of program is going to be hard to administer and police. I mean, if you're using a payroll service, great. But I think it's going to be a nightmare for those people that are processing their own payroll returns or using a firm that processes their returns, because at the end of the day, that's going to have to be monitored, and it's going to end up costing you more money to worry about that payback for the next couple of years. And is the benefit really needed? It's really not a lot of money unless you have a lot of employees. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those where I would be very careful. I would talk to your professional about it. It is another source of funds, but you got to definitely be careful, because I think the administrative side of it is going to be a lot more than it's probably worth, unless you're in dire straits and you can't really afford to pay it. Okay. You have the flexibility there.
And do you know what cash for NOLs 18, 19, 20, what is that?
Yeah, we haven't gotten into that yet. So what they're basically saying is that they've really released the provisions, the limitations on taking NOL carrybacks and stuff. They released a lot of that. We haven't really gotten into that yet, because no business owner has, from a tax standpoint, no business owner has really been affected yet, right? Because the tax returns have not been filed yet for this year. So it's not a provision we've really looked into yet. There is a provision there on NOLs that do allow you to, carry back and stuff above the normal limitations that are there. But that's not going to happen. Who knows what those losses, and NOL is a net operating loss. Who knows what those losses that are at this point in time of the year? You just don't know that. So it's not something that really firms are focused on at this point in time, unless you have a business that had losses and you want to take advantage of that.
Okay, and what about sick employee payroll tax credit up to 2,000?
So that's a program. That's a program that's allowing that the government will allow you to subsidize up to $200 a day for 2 weeks for employees. You can get up to $2,000 credit. So that's, if an employee gets sick, they want them to be home with their family or children. You can get up to $200 a day, up to a maximum of $2,000.
But that's $2,000 per employee per quarter?
No, it's not really. No, it's not per quarter. I think that's per the. No,
total.
That's it. I think that's what you hit. You hit that limit. Now that's something I can maybe expand it, but yeah, I think that's once you hit that, you're done.
Okay.
We haven't really had anybody in that particular program either.
And then, so let me ask you one more question about the 1099. So if I'm a 1099 and I'm going for unemployment,
I mean, you really have to, yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
When I was, who are they gonna, so is the government the one that's gonna pay that, or is it gonna be my last?
So before you do anything, and by the way, we haven't had anybody go through that process yet on our clients, right? Because we're dealing with business owners, and most of our business owners are still trying to stay active. The business owner themselves are really trying to operate their business, and they're applying for the PPP loans. But what I've heard is that you do have to apply for state unemployment first, right? You have to be eligible for your state unemployment before the federal unemployment kicks in. And the state unemployment's limited to $275 a week, and the federal unemployment is actually $600 a week. So,
okay, so
and you know, listen, they've been so inundated. They haven't even really been able to help a lot of people in the first week. So I don't even know where that program stands currently in terms of the unemployment side.
So, but if they do, they're not going to go back to their last employer that actually paid in.
No.
Yeah, they aren't going to do that. So it's okay to go and try it.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure of the eligibility on that. How they will, you know, what their eligibility will be on that if they do try, because they've been pretty inundated in terms. I've had people try to do that. It's been locked. The site's been locked up. They haven't been able to get through. But I do know this. People talk about the federal $600. You do have to have your state reemployment in place before you get your federal unemployment.
Okay.
That's key.
And what other questions or what other things are people asking you?
Let's see here.
What are you seeing out there?
So here's what we're seeing. The biggest thing that we're seeing is the PPP loans, you know, is really trying to get clarified. I mean, literally everybody, I mean, that's, you know, when you offer free money to taxpayers, it's really the program they're going after. A lot of them have decided a lot of them are working with their bankers and working with us to make sure they get the calculation, make sure they get that done. It's important if you do have a private banker, you know, a lot of businesses, especially depending on, you know, what type of business you have, if you have a personal banker, a relationship with a banker that you work with, we definitely recommend you use that banker to help you assist through this process so that you're not put to the back burner. The biggest question I kind of touched on a little earlier that's confusing most taxpayers is about their S-Corp income. As you know, and I know, a lot of realtors and a lot of 1099 people that receive 1099 consistently, especially to over $25,000, $30,000 a year, form small businesses. And if you've done that, if you've formed an S corporation and you have not given yourself a wage, that's going to have an impact on your business. Okay? Because you do need to have payroll.
So let me ask you one more question. If, you know, obviously we have a virtual assistant, you know, company, right? And it is overseas. So, and we're a service, right? People pay us and then we pay the virtual assistants. If somebody decides, you know what, I want to try to get this plan for my employees, right? So I'm going to lay off the virtual assistant and I'm going to go ahead and hire local people. Okay. Because again, we're a service. Are they going to be able to get any benefits from doing that?
No. So your virtual assistants overseas are not getting any benefits. Okay. And so here's the thing.
No, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. So I'm talking about locally. So as the business owners, if they say, you know what, I want to, because I want to take advantage for the employees here. Okay. I am going to lay off my virtual assistants
and hire them here.
But you said before that they would have had to been working for you from February 15th or previously, so it wouldn't affect
Exactly. Them. They're dead in the water now. I mean, nobody can go out and hire any employees to try to circumvent the system. They're dead in the water. There's nothing they can do about that now. They had to have been in place already.
Yeah, so they would have had to have been in place. So whoever you're working with currently from the middle of February of this year and 2020, correct? The year of 2020. So you can't hire people now to get in.
No, not and be part of the PPP program and not offer deferment. No, definitely not. Or basically the grant money, the free money. No.
What if I hire, if I hire people now, is there anything out there for me? Is there any benefits for
No. So here's the thing. A lot of people say, hey, what if I, or if I give my, when you're referring to the payback, right? When you're trying to determine what the forgiveness is on the payback, right? You can't go offer raises to your employees. I mean, it basically has to be consistent payroll. You can't now start paying everybody wages just to use up that money. It's not going to work that way either. It's, because they are looking at prior year payroll records and current records to determine, hey, has the payroll, basically it's like a head count, right? They're going to say, how many employees did you have when you calculated the average monthly, and what was my average monthly payroll, and how many employees do you have now? They're not going to allow you to give raises to people or pay all that money out to the owner above and beyond. Remember, because one thing that's also important to know, that payroll to the owners is limited to $100,000. So you can't, so if a business owner is making $300,000 a year, you don't use the $300,000 to calculate what their 2.5 month average is. That's very important, right? It's limited to $100,000. So same thing with the payback. In that case, if they're going to be over that, there is going to be a portion of forgiveness if they're being paid wages in excess of $100,000.
Got it. And so the PPP loan, as we talked about earlier, that the employees could be collecting unemployment now, but as a business owner, as soon as I'm getting that money, they need to be working, and I need to try to use all of it within the 60 days as paying the employees, right? But if not, at least 75% of it need to be paid within the 60 days to the employees, and then 25% can be paid for other office expense, electricity.
Well, utilities, mortgage, interest, and rent.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Wow. We covered a lot today. So if somebody doesn't have their own accountant, or they would like you to either file and help them through this process of all these different things, I definitely want you to give them your contact information so they can reach out and hire you to do that. But also, if they do, as far as tax purposes, want you to review previous taxes, you do that also, right? For free on that part.
Yep.
Okay, to see.
Absolutely.
And I've seen you save people hundreds of thousands of dollars, not just thousands.
Absolutely. That is true.
Okay.
I mean, it's important. Listen, every business owner tries to save money where they can, but it is important, from what I've seen over the years, the people that have lost the most is the people that either try to do it themselves on something very important, or they try to hire someone that's not qualified. It will cost you in the long run. If you hire a CPA or another tax professional, are they going to save you money in year one? Are you going to hire? We're not Superman, and we don't have magical powers to save taxpayers money. But over time, with the proper planning, I can guarantee you, with planning and doing things properly, a good CPA will always is more valuable than what you should be paying them, and it should always basically be, worth their money. And you'll find, trust me, with strategies and opportunities to save money over the years, you'll see that it's well worth the money.
Well, and the thing is when we started with you, or me actually personally, before I was even married, right? I was making less than $25,000 a year, 17 years or whatever, when we started, was 16 years ago. And it was still more beneficial because it was just me, right? I was waiting tables at the restaurant before I even got into real estate. And now you've seen, and we've opened, I don't even know how many, what do we have, 4 or 5 businesses with you now?
Oh, yeah, exactly. You've come a long way.
But I'm just saying that I saw the benefit then, because I could have gone to, one of those places you walk into and have them prepare your taxes. Or what is it?
And that, that's the biggest mistake. If you're a business owner and you're just using someone as a tax preparer, that's a mistake. You're not, that you can go anywhere to have your tax return prepared. Okay, it may not be correct, but you can go anywhere from that. If you really want to save, to have someone by your side, you need to have tax planning done. Every CPA should be tax planning for every business, regardless of the size. There's always opportunities to save money, assist in penalties for compliance reasons. Especially small business owners need the compliance side, because the penalties, believe me, the penalties are bigger, a lot bigger in times, that will outweigh, some of the savings. So it's important to use an accountant to also, it's pretty powerful if you have a business. Remember, S corporations have pass-through income, they have W-2 income, and it's important for a business owner to know ahead of time what their tax obligations are going to be, and not the week that they're filing their tax return. I mean, you know, all of our business clients know what they're going to owe before the end of the year. So when April comes, they have had months to plan to pay for their, you know, balances owed, or to come up with the money to plan for those obligations. And so they're not surprised. There's nothing worse than surprising a tax owner in the week of the deadline and saying, hey, by the way, you owe 15 or 20 grand. I mean, nobody likes that.
And I really feel that for us, you know, for my husband, Mark, and I, that you have helped us through the whole way. So you're the one who set up all of our corporations, multiples, but like the S Corp. So you'll talk to us and tell us, hey, these are recommendations, or this is what you do, this is what you're going to owe, make sure you have this, or whatever. But you've also made it to where our retirement and, you know, the benefits of the retirement. So we make our own decisions, but you've been our console around, you know, the whole entire way for every business. So I feel today, because, you know, I was personally, you know, bankrupt and broke, okay, back when Mike, I mean, didn't have any money when Mike started with us. And now we're fortunate, you know, to have, you know, be very comfortable with a couple million in, because of what he's helped us get there. Okay. You've helped us get to where we are today because of all this and because of all the planning. So I can't just stress to all of you business owners out there that if you don't, we all learned through what happened today in the crisis, where my crisis was, you know, many, many years ago. But that's why I feel that I'm in, you know, we're in a much better position today. But I'm just telling you, we all live and learn. And I would definitely be talking to a professional through this all, and to help you set up, you know, your future. Because if you don't, and you're going through it now, and you don't have any money. I've been there. Okay. I've been there personally, where I didn't have any money. I had $600 to my name. Okay. So I know how you feel. Definitely talk to a professional, try to get yourself lined up after this, okay, through this, of what benefits you have now, and then how to set yourself up moving forward. And Mike, why don't you give your information and we will also, it'll be below, but give us your information of how people can reach out to you to hire you as well. And,
Sure.
And like I said, to overlook your taxes, okay, even if you had it done by H&R Block, or if you did it yourself, they'll take a look at it and tell you the savings that you could have. And that part you don't charge for that, right? For looking at it.
Listen, it does not hurt for us to, so one of the services that we offer, we'll take a look at your business in complete detail for free. We're not pushy. You know, one thing is we're happy to come up with a list of your recommendations and say, you know what, here you go, and let you make the decision. We're not going to expect that if we do that for you, you're going to have to sign, you know, an engagement letter right away. There's nothing worse than having a pushy, you know, someone that's trying to push you to do something. We basically will do an analysis for you and give you your documentation and let you make that decision at your own, you know, discretion, so that you don't feel pushed into something. And the bottom line is like you said, in times like this, and in times when there will always be a time as a business owner when you need that professional to go over something, whether it's a contract, you're purchasing a business, you're purchasing a vehicle, or a pension plan. There's always going to be time. And the bottom line is, if you don't have that professional there to assist you, who do you call? I mean, you can't just call up an accounting firm and say, hey, I just got a question about something. They're not going to even talk to you. So it is important as a business owner, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money either. I mean, you know, we offer fixed fee monthly engagements for business owners, where we sit down with our business owners, we come up with a fixed monthly fee, and that includes everything for your business. So you know exactly what it's going to cost to operate your business for that year. You're not going to get surprise bills. You're not going to get billed for phone calls. You're not going to get billed for emails. You know exactly where you stand. And literally 9 out of 10 business owners that we meet love that option. They know it. They love to know exactly what they're going to pay every month and to have their business fully protected. We do everything for you. We literally take all the work out of your hands and make it a very simplified process.
And this is you do everywhere in Florida, right?
What's that?
Anybody in Florida can hire you.
We do people all over. Most of our business clients are here in Florida because, you know, typically people like to have a relationship with someone close by. But we have clients, we've had plenty of clients that have been here that have moved away. They've stayed our clients for years all over the country. And they've stayed our clients because we've been good. And especially with technology today, you don't have to be very close by, and you can get on calls like this, or a lot of things are through the email and through, you know, to mail. And so you really don't need to be face-to-face with an accountant all the time. You know, email has kind of helped us with that. But If you do have any questions or if you need to get a hold of me, you can go to our website, which is huckinscpa.com. That's spelled HUCKINS CPA.com, or you can reach my office at 561-750-2272, and you can just ask for Mike Huckins.
Thank you. And the thing is the other thing, you know, our new norm is going to be different, right? So just like this, you can set up talking to clients on Zoom, just like what we're doing right here, right? So you don't have to necessarily be right in front of
you. Can also do that with FaceTime. I mean, you can do it with the phone. It's common to do FaceTime. I mean, people haven't really got used to that process yet, but sometimes taxpayers, when they want to go with the new account, they want to have that face-to-face contact, you know, initially they want to say, hey, I want to just come meet you, but you can do that. Yeah. FaceTime and Zoom. It's great. Well,
the thing I like about Zoom is you can share a screen. And so you can go over actually, you know, line by line, different line items and things like that as well. But anyways, a lot of different ways to do it, guys. I'm going to tell you, first of all, thank you, Mike. Thank you to all of our listeners. Highly recommend, if you don't have a professional that you're working with, to reach out to Mike, because he's full of knowledge and he's not pushy. Trust me. I've had so many people that I know that use Mike because of how knowledgeable he is. So thanks to all of our listeners, and thank you, Mike. Bye, everybody.
Have a great day. Thank you.